Hello, fellow faction members. Rhadamant here. Thank you for tuning in to RimWorld Frostwardens, Episode 9, Union Hall and Council Hall. We still have low food warnings. There are, once it warms up a little bit, there is slag far flung from where it is currently safe to move, but maybe in the middle of the summer we can consider grabbing the slag and the corpses down there. I just think that at the moment, that would be a little dangerous to do. Hey, an anonymous gifter. Well, thank you. Cheers. And deep drilling just got researched. Time to get ground pen scanning. Susan, I think you would prefer to make your own altar rather than the pilgrim altar. Yes, in this colony, currently, Axios, Fishpick, and Paragodog are pilgrims. Nabla and Zeusin are stalwarts. So it is not an even split. I mean, how could it be with 2 and 3? I'm really bad at turning off Nabla's research bench. Someday I'll get it right. Is Tinctoria available in the Hydro Basin? It is. Is deep drilling like a quarry mod? No, it's vanilla RimWorld, where you dig resources that are buried underground. Okay, so I guess now that you know party affiliations, you can feel free to self-assign. Now, there's no pressure to necessarily try to balance out the two sides. So if you were undecided and you saw that the stalwarts had a majority, you don't necessarily need to continue repping the opposite. You can rep whatever you want. And I do plan on getting a deep drill up soon. Yeah, we are getting some good progress here for our faction halls. The Union Hall and the Council Hall. Thomas Ross, thanks for the gifted subs as well, and Radlocker for the cheer, and Thack for the cheer. I'm going to be very caffeinated at the end of this. Chaos Engine, thanks for the resub too. And Turtle for cheer, again. And Sean as well. I appreciate it. The steward appreciates it. The support of you all. Alright, Zeusin, you are getting cold. Let's get you in here and make us some food. I am hoping to catch up on our food deficit. Adding another mouth to feed didn't come without cost. If you are wondering why we haven't had refugee requests, I have turned them off. I don't think it's reasonable to necessarily entertain refugees if we don't have a means to feed them. So There are switches behind the scenes which will be flipped on and off to try to keep things relatively balanced and maintaining peace and order. And that would be one such switch flipped. Rat and Omega, thank you for the cheer and the gifted sub, and Enthak for even more bits. Flicker for the resub. To many more cold winters with you all. Funny that we're heading into summer and the game's still like, you need warm clothing. It's like, we did, but that moment has passed. Okay, you two are not working that correctly. Completely exchanging jobs. They're trying to do shoddy craftsmanship to sabotage each other's meeting rooms. And yeah, as Sir Thunder points out, if you defer to me and you leave it up to me, I am often not going to choose, when it comes to voting, solutions that make people necessarily happy. I might make austerity cuts or something like that. Right? Like if you defer to me about like the quality of life, I might just say, you know what? Nutrient-paced meals, yeah, they seem reasonable. Everyone's going to eat nutrient-paced meals instead of actually trying to raise the quality of life for people. I will, so those are the kind of decisions I'm going to make, meaning you shouldn't leave things up to me unless you really can't decide, or if you don't know what the unintended consequences are and you think there will be severe. Because there's obviously a chance for some of the choices that are made to have severe unintended or severe unknown consequences, and if you suspect that to be the case, you can certainly defer to me to try to avoid them. Prepare a while from the south. Also, Nabla is starving. We have got a lot of grenadiers, short range with smoke launchers and grenades. Okay. I'm going to have Axios leave the base to go skirmish with them. There isn't much threat as long as he's warm to take pot shots at them, because they're all low range. And Axios is a jogger, so it's not likely he's going to get caught. Now, in terms of their insulation, it is -42. And most of them are insulated enough, except for Heath, maybe, that they are not going to succumb to hypothermia. So, letting the terrible temperatures deal with them is not going to work. So the 2 smoke launchers are firing at me, but you know what? That's fine. Oh, one's already downed. That guy must have been sanguine or something. Yeah, he's sanguine. So, this is what I was saying, is their facial expressions reflect their traits, so the dude's, like, super happy, which is why I knew he was sanguine without checking. Georgie and Trumpet. Didn't go so well, huh? And my plan here is to try to wound a whole bunch of them, rather than to kill individuals, because if you wound them, they don't necessarily engage in attack. So if you spread out the damage, you can kind of negate a raid using priority targets and the like. Hey, Mug! Thank you for the resub. How mod-friendly is the portrait mod? It's very friendly in that it doesn't affect... It won't typically break stuff, but what I will say is if you're using Xenos, it doesn't necessarily work, and then if you have custom clothing mods, it might not necessarily work. So it's not that it will break, but it might not look right. Fish pick, what? Oh, you're starving. Yeah, go eat. And Axios here is like totally manhandling this raid. Alright, everybody behind the walls. So the thing is, most of them are bleeding, and their blood loss is going up and up and up. So even if they're not dead, they are to be dead soon. Using some guerrilla warfare tactics for my advantage. Yeah, Axios, not to be messed with, clearly. He's like, oh, 7 idiots showed up? 7 corpses, more like. Zeusin with an inspired creativity. All right. I believe the best use of this inspired creativity is to have Zeusin make as nice of a bed for herself as possible. The question for you all is whether that will be allowed or not. So poll. Zeusin wants to make a great bed for herself, forsaking others and not making better recreation. Should we allow this? Now, interestingly, it's a very anti-stalwart thing to believe in. The stalwarts believe in egalitarian, and so they're sort of utilitarians, and meaning that generally speaking, the stalwarts will believe in everyone having real equal footing. So the fact that she adopted this idea is kind of anti-stalwart. It's more of a merit-based reward system that the Pilgrims believe in. But regardless, she sort of selfishly put it forward anyway. And her and Axios would want it, whereas Nabla, Fishpick, and Paragadog that don't stand to gain from it wouldn't. And what is there to lose or gain, of course, is that it's entirely possible for her to put her work towards some sort of incredible recreation item instead, like billiards or poker table, and she's just not willing to do that. So, you guys can vote for 2.5 minutes whether or not she uses her inspiration for self-benefit or for group benefit. Alright. Trumpet has medicine. That's pretty much the only one that had anything down there. And only 1 medicine. And I think just I'm going to wait for the Union Hall to be built for the role change, rather than to do it now, even though technically now it would be allowed. Alright. I think it's pretty safe to call this poll a little early, in that it's going to be for recreation. What should be built? Poker table? Or billiards? With that in mind, I don't currently have the space for a poker table or billiards, so we would be likely using this void space over here. Or I could put it in the storeroom here, in the sort of general area of the base. But it's not going in here. Neither of them would fit. So 1 minute to vote on poker versus billiards, and I do have the stone and cloth for it, so the costs are steep, but not impossible to afford. Okay, both the Union Hall and Council Hall have been built. They're essentially identically impressive, which is just by chance. And Fish Pick is going to self-assign being the foreman. And Axios will be in attendance, but not Paragodog. Double Dwarf, thank you for the resub. Okay, I think it has been decided that a billiards table is to be built. So we're going to have to amass the materials for it. But that's a pretty reasonable outcome, I think. So we'll just keep grabbing slate, cutting the slate, and then we're also going to have to break down some of these bedrolls as well. I'm keeping a very close eye on our battery power. I'm actually going to shut that off and pivot for maybe a day back to smithing, just so that we can make more, recharge our batteries a little better, because they almost browned out. And brownouts would be pretty dangerous for our food supply. We are a little... We're not food secure. And in fact, I'm going to harvest early and get it resown while the grow light's off. I think that's going to be worth it. So thank you for voting on the billiards table. We'll get that underway in a minute. Okay, schedule. Axios, you are going to play pull a little overtime, because we're so food insecure. What ways can we increase the available power? We can upgrade the arc. It is the only way. There are no generators or alternative methods of power generation in this scenario. There is zero that we can do. I've tried to explain this multiple times. There's no wind, no solar, no wood fire, no chem fuel, no ship reactors, there's no watermill generators, no other geothermal. There is zero that we can do to add to our power other than upgrading the arc. And that is exactly how Frostpunk worked, and that's exactly how this is going to work. And the reason we haven't done that is the wood-fueled furnaces. Well, we don't have a lot of wood, and we definitely don't have a lot of steel or components to invest in it. So it's going to have to wait until we're not so resource poor. Fish Pit can start the billiards table, but it's going to be finished off by Zeusin. Alright, adding some additional pathing. Some buildings might end up being cropped up around here, but for now I want some additional pathing so that we can move faster, because the ice walk speed is like less than 50%, whereas the flagstone's 100%, so it's going to make an enormous difference in terms of, you know, speed and mobility. I wonder if this summer we're going to get any animals to hunt, because we're almost heading into the summer. So now that we have the faction halls, the current priority right now is to add pathing around the arc. Pretty straightforward. Nothing sexy about that priority at all. And my guess is, yeah, some of the heaters here are now not drawing full power because it's warm enough outside that they don't require it, which is great. It's almost warm enough that I can unrestrict people. I'm not going to do it quite yet because I don't want to be running to the edge of the map to get like slag and then freeze on the way out there, so I'm going to keep them restricted for now. But we're getting pretty close to being able to free roam. Our temperature tolerance is about -35 to 37 per person. And that's roughly what the midday temperature is in this colony now. Alright, Zeusin, let's have you finish off the billiards table. Smithing is now researched. Let's go to machining. And I'm going to wait until the batteries are at least 50% before going back to ground pen scanning. So, for record, she has a construction of 17 and is inspired. Masterwork. And given that there's a masterwork there, let's get rid of our slate horseshoe pin, as they do the same thing. Based upon the scenario in the Ice Age, can animals arrive in the summer? They are able to, they're not likely to. So I wouldn't hold your breath, but it's not to say that it can't happen. Alright, I'm going to risk turning... Oops, that's not what I meant to do. Turning on the high-tech research bench for ground pen. We don't have a lot of power, but maybe we can... maybe we can turn that on and get a little bit more progress. So one of the advantages of this is the rec power of the Masterwork billiards table is 182, so that we won't get bored of it very often. I can also attempt to make better chess tables, or to make poker tables, but I think I want to hold off on the poker tables until we have more cloth available to us, because we don't have a lot of cloth. We're certainly not growing it, and any tattered clothing is going to be replaced eventually. So reserving cloth usage for only when we have inspirations seems pretty reasonable to me. Could I set Nobla research at night? I certainly could. I could change Axios and Nobla's to a nocturnal schedule. It would mean that they would have far less interaction with their own faction members. So it's not something I'm eager to do right now. But maybe in the future. Mostly because running around to try to, like, haul things at night. Night is also the coldest. So it's the double-edged sword of you're a lot slower at night, and it's a lot colder at night. So the risk of hypothermia when there's fewer people on duty to actually help you is kind of worse. Okay, we do have some pathing. That's good. The next thing I want to do is to floor up the storeroom. It's not a sexy goal, but it's one I'm going to do anyway. And this is to try to cut down on the filth around the base. Because the fewer natural tiles there are, the more likely we are to have clean floors. And let's go and pull the trigger on complete unzoning. So what I'm going to do here is no corpse pile. So no corpse pile is going to look like this. It's going to be this area here, inverted. And everybody except for Axios is going to be no corpse pile, basically so that they don't haul corpses. That's Axios' responsibility, as dictated by the polling. And now, because it's warm enough, being in late spring, that everyone will be able to go everywhere. Except for, of course, the corpse pile, except for Axios. Untar, thank you for the resub too. And what I'm hoping to have happen, and I'm actually going to encourage it, is hauling of the slag. So let's do a search here for slag and make sure that I got all the slag that exists triggered for hauling. Because slag, of course, is like a kind of a precious resource until we can actually get steel. These pirates are using what little steel they have to try to obtain our generator. So I think I have all the slag queued for hauling. Also, a reminder that like weapons you see out here are completely worthless to me. And we have rules for no usage of that stuff anyway, so leaving it behind makes sense. Oh, thank goodness. Axios, sorry to do this to you again. Luckily, you're like over the moon with marital bliss, but you're gonna pull double duties here. It makes sense to try to get all of the hydro benches sown at night, so that in the morning, when the grow light turns back on, they're actually growing. Given how little food that we have, I think this is he understands it's pretty necessary. And they also entertained his idea for corpse eating. So like he feels like, given that people were willing to compromise with him, that he will pull extra weight, knowing how grisly his heating ideas were. Batteries almost out of power? Yes, they are. There is no point in voting for more food generation. We don't have the power for it. Hydro benches take 70 watts. We barely can afford to keep what we have on. Adding more hydro benches, we would just brown out the batteries and plants would die anyway. So Axios is hauling corpses to the corpse stockpile, but everybody else is starting to haul slag. And eventually these corpse stockpiles are going to be overflowed, and oh, we are getting attacked. And then we can have alternative stockpiles. So we've got Nathan up here, protected enough from the cold with a pump shotgun and components. Components are really nice. Revolver pour. Steel knives. This person is going to succumb. Ski will probably succumb to temp, but really no one else. So schedule everybody behind the walls. That's a really horrible place to drop the slag, though. Doors are open, and we're ready to receive, let's call them guests. I'm going to start to get the heater on inside of the pillbox. Everyone is restricted to being at home at the moment, so we can prepare a defense. While they wait, constructing a deep drill, not a terrible idea. Not that I'm going to use it, but we can always uninstall it and move it. Okay, the groups are headed in. Changing where they're standing so they have better firing angles. And first one in is an Iron-Willed slow learner named Lawrence. This is the army of scavengers, and it's entirely possible to attempt to befriend them, which I haven't forgotten about. So it's not to... there might be a case where we capture and release, depending on what they have and who they are and the like. There's a whole bunch of factors. Looking good. Yep, that was not much of a fight. We have really good defenses. Okay, let's see here. I am going to attempt to patch them up and release them. It's not to say I'm going to feed them or anything, but we are getting really a lot of pressure from these factions, and maybe a little bit of reprieve from the constant raids would be beneficial. Oh my god. Or not. Try to do a nice thing, and the nice thing blows up in your face. Okay. They are scattered pod drop raids. All right, everyone behind the walls again. In here, I am going to move weapons. Biocoded weapons are going to get put into this here just so there's not propping open the door. My guess is both these guys die, like, as a result of the raids coming in. But what I can do is I can try to have, Fishpick heal them, because Fishpick's not going to do much of anything else anyway. He's not a very good doctor, but he's not really involved in this fight at the moment. Six hours, 4 hours. Okay, let's go after Kel first, and then Kuja. So, melee, short range, short range, short range. Oh, no, 2 long range. Got it. Yeah, the 10 quality here is atrocious, but, like, we knew that. And in terms of the resources they have... Oh, you have a bunch of Neutermine. Pragadog has defected from the front. Too hungry to fight. Alright, they are mostly dealt with. I just went to cover so that the one with the bolt-action rifle didn't have a line of sight. And they're fleeing. Another good defense. Let's see here. Cochlear implant, 3 hours to live. And then Lawrence died. Okay. Pragadog. Because you defected from the front, you get to be... No, don't use meds. You get to go pick them up. Well, that one has a lot of Neutermine, though. Let's see if we can take down Warner. So there isn't corpse looting, except for, of course, like, items, components, and random other rewards that we might get as a result. But clothing and weapons are off limits. That wasn't already made obvious. Don't think that one's going to survive, unless Axios goes now to him. Good job, Pragadog. Thank you for tuning in to RimWorld Frostwardens, which originally streamed live on Twitch, January 26th. If you have any feedback or questions for me, let me know in the comments below. If you would like to catch a live stream of mine, Rhadamant.com has my stream schedule and countdown timers to upcoming streams. If you would like to join my online gaming community on Discord, Rhadamant.com has a link to it, as does the description of this video. Thank you so very much for tuning in. Special thank you to my Twitch subscribers, Patreon patrons, and viewers like you that support the channel and made it all the way to the credits. Thank you so very much. I hope to catch you next episode or an upcoming stream. Farewell, my fellow survivors on the ice floe.